2 days ago, some of the countries have airdropped some aid in Gaza, especially in the central and southern Gaza, but not much in the northern Gaza. So we can read into this or look into this from multiple perspectives, especially when we have two important questions. First, why Israel itself participated in this exercise, especially when its forces went ahead to kill the people who gathered around to collect the very aid they airdropped. And secondly, why the aid was airdropped instead of allowing the aid convoys to pass through Rafah. So you have to keep in mind that this whole exercise was carried out ahead of a future possible ground invasion of Rafah by Israel, for which it's planning for weeks. So Israel has tried to achieve multiple political goals with this particular exercise. First, it has tried to create an impression that it's concerned about the worsening humanitarian situation in Gaza. And secondly, it has tried to justify or provide a political cover for its future ground invasion of Rafah by creating an impression that for humanitarian aid to be delivered or for humanitarian relief activities, Rafah no longer carries any value. So even if Israel carries out ground invasion of Rafah, it won't have any implications for the worsening humanitarian situation in Gaza, which is not the case. And thirdly, you have to keep in mind that most of the countries who participated in this exercise are also involved in the Paris talks, the negotiation that are going on between Hamas and Israel over the prisoner exchange and a weeks long ceasefire. And in those negotiations, in the start, Hamas has emphasized on delivery of humanitarian aid and expanding the scope of humanitarian aid. And you have to keep in mind that from perspective of Gaza, humanitarian aid is not limited to just the food supply. It involves the medical supplies as well as the supply of the fuel, which is necessary to run the healthcare system, to run the ambulances, to run the hospitals. And we already know that most of the hospitals in Gaza are out of operation because lack of delivery of fuel in Gaza. And even when the first deal was signed, there was a deadlock on allowing the certain fuel into Gaza. So we can see that these countries can use it as a bargaining chip in negotiation as well, where they will try to create impression that they are already delivering aid. So Hamas needs to like come down on this particular demand, and they can even pressurize to give up on the demand of allowing fuel into Gaza. So, and especially if you see that for delivery of humanitarian aid, Israel doesn't need to airdrop the aid. It shares a border with Gaza, it has multiple crossing. So if Israel is concerned about the humanitarian situation in Gaza, it can use these crossings to deliver the aid into Gaza. So we can clearly see that it's like politics written all over this exercise.